Gentlemen, for those of us who don't know all your projects, please introduce yourselves. You can start with you.
Okay. I'm Hamid of Sentinel Protocol. I'm a head of operations. We are building a security intelligence platform for the blockchain, which will be up and running by the people and for the people of the crypto world. Because you see this crypto world, there are so many hackings and scams and phishings and the bad ill behaviors in here. We are here to address those kind of problems by using the power of blockchain technology and the incentivized system on it. So far, we have finished our private round, so we are preparing our pre-sales and the public round. So maybe you can join our Telegram channel to know more about us. Thank you.
Thank you.
Good evening. I'm Neeraj Murarka from Bluzelle Networks. We started the company in Vancouver in 2014. We're now headquartered here in Singapore. We're building a globally decentralized database, so it's totally infrastructure. We did our token sale in mid-January. It was very successful, and we're currently in the process of building out the first release of our product, which we're calling Lovelace, which will be coming out at the end of June. So yes, we also have a Slack community, and we're on Telegram. So definitely encourage, people to come in and join our community.
Thank you.
I'm Ian from Kyber Network. So Kyber Network is a decentralized exchange service that allows seamless and secure token conversion. So we are built entirely on Ethereum network because we are entirely on chain. That makes it more secure than most other exchanges out there. We completed our token sale last September. Also had a very successful round. And just 3 days ago, we opened our Mainnet public beta, and we are seeing pretty steady growth in terms of transaction value. So if you're interested, please give it a try. Kyber.network. Thank you.
Hi everyone, my name is Henry. I'm the head of global business at Icon. As Amy mentioned, we're in the middle of our APEC tour. So JJ and also Ryan and other people from Blue Whale and also Sentinel were part of this APEC tour. We just came from Hong Kong today. I only had an hour's sleep yesterday, so maybe a little easy on the questions. But
No, that's no excuse.
very nice to meet you, everyone. We hope to increase our ecosystem out here in Singapore. So we'll have a lot of discussion here tonight. But if you have any other questions, please feel free to reach out or hang out later for the network session.
Okay, so I'm gonna try to keep this interactive. I've got some questions, but as and when I'm gonna look here and you raise a hand, I will go to you. Yeah. So first, we can start with maybe you, Henry. Why do you believe your work is so important?
Sorry.
Why do you believe your work is important? Sorry, I'll slow down. Sorry. Why do you believe that your work, the work that you do, is so important?
Okay. See, I only have an hour.
No, that pronunciation don't worry.
Okay, so I think Amy pretty much explained where we come from. So running the business in the private blockchain side, and so we understand a lot of the benefit that the private blockchain offers to this world. But if you see the broader industry as a whole, there's a lot of division between what goes on in the public blockchain and private blockchains. And as Amy mentioned, we aim to build a global standard for interoperability protocol so that we can facilitate certain innovations can be used beyond its siloed network. Right now, all the decentralized services or the protocol services that a lot of blockchain projects provide are only isolated to that particular network. And even consolidation in mind, in maybe next 5 years, 10 years, even consolidation in mind, we're not a believer that there will be a single protocol where everyone will build their applications on top of, and that will be the basis for all types of blockchain-related services. We think there will be a multiple of different blockchain networks with multiple different value proposition or value add to the larger ecosystem. And I think it's very important for players like us or other blockchain projects that aims to solve the interoperability issues to actually make that happen, so that a lot of the innovations can be moved beyond certain isolated network systems.
Same question for all of us, please. It's a very important question to me, so I'll leave it. Yeah.
So the reason why Kyber Network exists, right, is mostly because a lot of blockchain platforms, when they were first born, they issued their own tokens. So as a result, in order to provide utility for their tokens, they have to, most of the time, their platforms only recognize the tokens that they issue as a payment for their service. So in this case, what this means is that users need to possess the network token in order to utilize a platform. So for example, if I'm a fast food restaurant, let's say McDonald's, I issue McDonald's tokens, and if users want to purchase anything from my shop, the user needs to possess McDonald's tokens. So so this is only one case. Now, in the case of blockchain sector, there are thousands of ICOs, and that means there are thousands of different services. And every day, like maybe a user interacts with 5 different types of tokens every day, for example. And it doesn't make sense for the user to hold that many types of tokens. Users only want like maybe a generic currency, so that, but at the same time, they want to be able to access different services. So this is where Kyber Network comes in, right? By integrating Kyber Network with conversion solutions onto all these type of platforms, the user can pay in a single currency. Kyber Network processes the conversion, much like PayPal does it, and then the store still receives the payment in in the token that they've issued. So this is how we see ourselves in the landscape in the long run. But everything starts from being the decentralized exchange service. And also we believe that right now, Henry brought up a very good point about the fact that sector is now very segregated because different blockchains speaks different language, and there's no efficient way to communicate between each other, which is why we partner with Icon, because we believe that in the long run, it's not going to be just Ethereum or just Bitcoin. It's going to be multiple blockchains serving different kind of purposes, and we need all of them to coexist.
Thank you. Neeraj, why do you believe your work is so important?
Yeah, so just a quick background for me. I mean, two things are very important to me, and this segues into the answer to the question. One of them is liberty. I'm a libertarian politically, which is pretty big in Canada, and I'm also very big on the computer science side on databases. So for me as a software developer, I find that the ability to store data securely with scalability and reliably is critical. And I got into blockchain in 2013 and found it very powerful, and now with Bluzelle and the database, I find that the ability to take trustless computing and decentralization, which are really the fundamental technologies or sciences behind blockchain, and marrying with database is critical. So now talking about Bluzelle's Swarm database, why is it important? It's giving software developers the ability to store their data without having any kind of restrictions or any kind of censorship. They can store their data without the worry that that data is going to disappear, either because of some sort of denial of service attack, because of some sort of hardware failures, or because some sort of government steps in and says, you know what, you're not following our rules, we don't like you, we're going to shut you down. So for me, it's very important going forward in the future for any software developers who are really driving the technology that we all depend on. We all use phones, we all use these devices, we're more and more connected, and the data is what determines and drives our lives. So it's critical that that data be stored in a way that's not controlled by anyone and it's reliable. So that's where our database comes in. The 3 core metrics for our database are scalability, reliability, and performance. And that's what we're building out. So our swarming database technology, we keep these fundamentals in mind. And this is really what excites me, what keeps me going. And as I said before, I definitely want people to understand what we're doing, but also understand why we're doing it.
Why do you believe your work is so important? Security.
Okay, just a little bit of background of our team. Our founder, Patrick Kim, he suffered a hacking from it was like a year and a half ago. He got stolen more than 7,000 Ethereum back then because of the software vulnerability inside the Beast gas wallet. You can check out the story in like 7,200/180 security.org. And back then he got a very expensive lesson learned, because this blockchain technology, people think it's super secure. We admit that the core technology is secure, but the connected apps, dApps, and the exchanges, and the payment, the other service, they are not secure enough. From back then, we quite determined to make this kind of service to protect the innocent people who got hacked or scammed or phished by the hackers. So you think about this blockchain technology, this industry has grown in very tremendous speed. So maybe some necessary functionality like security, like auditing, like some other necessary functionalities, they haven't developed in that the speed of the blockchain technology itself. People is focusing on the financial solution and the other things, but without the security, it's an incomplete solution. So we are focusing on that security technology using the blockchain itself to incentivize the export of the world to protect and enable the normal people to have the better means to have a better security for themselves. That's what we're trying to do.
Thank you. So all of you are kind of at different stages of your product development. So Kian, you just went live on Mainnet 3 days ago. So what was the biggest challenge in doing that?
I think one of the biggest challenges is still, so there are several perspectives. Now, in terms of technology, right, we are, because we're built entirely on-chain, that means we have the same throughput as Ethereum. And Ethereum is not exactly known to be the most
Efficient and fast.
So in a way, because I mean, looking at last year, end of November, early December, CryptoKitties happened, and it clogged the network. So we're lucky we didn't launch it then, but it's still a persisting issue that a lot of companies or like even the network is facing. And this year, it is critical year because a lot of projects that did ICO last year promised mainnet launched in 2018. So this year we're going to see a lot more projects coming up on mainnet. It's gonna it will strain the network. So this year on our end we are developing a scaling solution to increase our throughput, but as a network, there needs to be a solution to increase the throughput scalability for Ethereum. And then so that's mostly the technical aspect, right? And then in terms of exchange, we find it quite difficult to determine a lot of in terms of marketing. For example, you don't know how to determine cost of acquiring a user. You don't know how much to spend in order to retain the customer. So these are the metrics that are not present at the moment, and we can't even cross-reference it to existing projects because there are none.
But couldn't you just estimate based on like how much you're paying your marketing department and number of Telegram users and stuff like that?
So it's very difficult to do that because right now in the blockchain space, a lot of people are very profit-driven, right? And it is people are trading not because they want the utility. People are trading because they want the profit, and it's very short. It's short-lived, so it's not representative of the user base. So we can't really use that kind of profile to make an estimation. So on our end, we have to find a use case, find a good target audience, and then using our best means to do a projection. Yeah.
Okay, thank you. And Neeraj, Bluzelle, and how's that going right now?
It's coming along pretty well. I mean, one of the number one comments that I get whenever I'm at a meetup, regardless of where in the world it is just how ambitious it is to build a multi-swarm database as we're building. It's a massive infrastructure project. It's going to take time, and it's going to come in stages. So we've been, our white paper has been progressing, and we've added, improvements to it. But the main idea is to have, baby steps, to do things in the right order, and to deliver products to the developers so that they can, start using the technology in the right order. So, currently we're in the process of building our single swarm version of the database, which is obviously much simpler than multi-swarm by many orders of magnitude, but it supports the very basic core functionality of the database, which is create, read, update, delete for key value pairs. And we have a very exciting roadmap of features that we're going to be building out past it. And where everything's AGPL, it's on GitHub, so we want to keep things very transparent. We have the community involved, open source. Brian Fox is one of the founders of the Free Software Foundation, is actually one of our advisors. So we have a very strong open source foundation to our company. But more importantly, features are not going to just be coming out every 6 months or every 3 months. People have the option to download our source code, build it, and run releases whenever they want, the latest and greatest, depending on how unstable or stable they want the product to be. So we're going to do something by the end of June, but before then,
You think it's June, right?
Sorry?
You hope that it's June.
Oh, we're going to have it by the end of June.
Oh, well, so confident. Okay, perfect. Now let's put a given now, actually. You just finished your sale, finishing, right?
Yeah, finished the private sale, and besides the token sale, we are building our product, and our mainnet is launching on the same time frame, the end of June or early July. It's on schedule, but what we are trying to build is not a rocket science. Actually, it's a simple technology, the threat reputation database of a blockchain, and incentivizing the global export and using some unsupervised machine learning to spot out some unexpected behavior. That's not rocket science. It's already proven technology in the conventional cybersecurity industry. But
So what's the difficult part then?
the difficult part is the making partnership with the major players in the market, because the user adoption is a key critical element for us, because some exchange, like the global number 1 to 3 exchange is using us, but let's say some OTC is not using us, maybe that OTC will be the hackers trade center. So ultimately, we are dreaming that the one who's not using our Sentinel protocol security layer will be left out. That's what we are dreaming of. But to go there, we need to have some strong partnerships. So far, we have, I cannot name the exchanges, but we have partnered with global top exchanges, and
Hold on.
it's a fire alarm.
Yeah, someone's smoking. Okay, it's a door.
Okay.
Okay, sorry. Yeah.
And
That was a security alarm, wasn't it?
yeah. and
Relevant.
we are talking to Etherscan. Actually, Etherscan can be the top sentinel, which is the expert group on our system, because they have this very large amount of threat database. Whenever new ICO pops up, the people report the Etherscan. This is a phishing site. This is some bad wallet, some dirty wallet. So they have that database, but that's not their core business. So they want to outsource that part to someone handling that. That could be us, and it's a mutually win-win partnership that we are building on exchanges as well, and some of crypto payment as well.
So is there like a minimum number of partnerships or kinds of partnerships that you want to be in place before you launch?
No minimum number. We only target like a top guys on scanner, like a blockchain.info or Etherscan, those top guys, and the exchanges like Huobi, OKEX, the Upbit in Korea, like those top players. Then ultimately we are thinking the others, they will be automatically using our service, because those top guys already made the alliance, the security alliance within our system. So there's no downside. They're not participating in our system. That's our business strategy.
Okay, cool. Henry, you just launched your wallet, right?
Yes.
So any major challenges along the way to doing that?
So I think as a protocol layer, the player who wants to build a very infrastructure layer of blockchain technology, I think it's less about technology, but more about user adoption and building the ecosystem of people who uses our network and people who wants to build their innovative decentralized applications on top of Icon. So from a technology standpoint, obviously, for every technology, you obviously have to crawl, walk, and run. You can't suddenly come up with a product that is so revolutionary and technically superior. So it's very much a step that we need to take, I guess. And in terms of our mainnet, the construct of our mainnet, we use a variation of PBFT consensus model. But in come like 2 years, maybe there will be a better consensus model that can provide a superior throughput, a better transaction speed, which could be beneficial for all other players in this industry. So we're also in the process of designing a upgraded version, a enhanced version of our consensus model, which we will hope to bring the throughput to much faster than what we have right now. So we're very much flexible when it comes to adopting new technologies. We're in no position, we don't have the right to claim that our technology is, the best technology that this industry can offer. And our architecture, basic architecture, is designed in a way that is very modular, and we're happy to explore different technologies in our mainnet if that technology can offer better service to our clients, which is the general ecosystem of this.
So question for all of you, and I'll go to the audience in a short bit. Is managing the community's expectations like the easiest or hardest part of all of what you're doing? Because all what you're doing are fairly technical, you're saying partnerships, but community is so important, right? Is it easiest or hardest?
I think it's one of the hardest. Because obviously we can't really manage people's expectations about how our product is going to look like. But I think it's very important, as for all blockchain projects, to be very transparent. We get a lot of comments about us not having as many commits on GitHub compared to other portfolio projects, and we realize that that's something that we haven't done a very good job of. And in the coming few months, we'll be releasing a lot of our, we'll be very aggressive in releasing our codes to the open source developer communities to get some feedbacks and to show our progress, that we're not just sitting back and not doing anything and just doing marketing. We're actually, we've been doing business since the enterprise side of things. So our solution is very much there, but we weren't just as transparent as our community would have liked in opening these source codes and communicating with the developer community. So it's very much hard to manage people's expectations, I think. But it's something that is very necessary, and I think everyone in this industry needs to do a better job of, including ICON.
Anyone else?
So I would agree with Henry as well. So it's one of the most difficult things to manage in the whole scheme of business. So the dynamic has become quite different from most other companies, right? In the blockchain sector, we are mostly projects, but we're getting Series B, Series C kind of fundings, and immediately we are inheriting the kind of pressure that public companies usually handle. So. And because of the pace of the industry, suddenly you have a lot of people coming at you if your price is not performing. It becomes a distraction. Because right now people are telling you if your price is not right, all the things that you've done, all the things that you're going to do, they're all wrong. Yeah. So this is something that I think a lot of other companies that are not in the blockchain sector are not experiencing, simply because it's the different kind of different nature. So on our end, what we can do is that we try to manage the expectation. We try not to. We can ultimately in the span of maybe a few months, right? You can train yourself to be a little more resistant towards all this kind of comments. Yeah. Also, just there will be a lot of trolls as well. Just know how to handle them, ban them if necessary. Yeah.
Okay. And Neeraj, let's go to you. Bluzelle had quite a event at some point before a crowd sale. This is a bit controversial. I'm going to apologize in advance. But can you take us through that part? One day before a crowd sale, you changed your ether pack and the tokens. For those of us who don't know, maybe you can just describe briefly the incident and kind of what interested in the thought process behind it, because I'm sure it's really difficult on your side. And how was it like?
Yeah, it was quite a roller coaster. I mean, we all know that the crypto markets are relatively volatile, so I'll just kind of run through the 72 hours before our token sale, which we had advertised we wanted to stick to. We had locked our ETH to USD at a certain price. Don't quote me on it. It was something like 1,300, give or take. And it's a learning process. It's not a hard and fast science right now, but we did that about 48 hours before the sale. And within that time span, Ethereum dropped, I want to say 25 to 30%. And we actually had a hard cap that was, in my opinion, pretty conservative, especially considering the size of our project and what we're doing. So we were basically facing a situation where we were going to have a pretty large shortfall in terms of what our raise was going to be.
Remind us again, what was the hard cap?
Our hard cap was 19.5. Yeah. So yeah, we were facing that situation, and a lot of people actually in our Telegram were saying, wow, this is great, we're going to have an arbitrage situation. And then there were some people that were like, what are these guys doing? Like, they got to adjust this price. So, it's kind of what we already heard. There's some people that are trolling, there's some people that are like, yay, we're going to make a bunch of money. It was going all the ways. But at the end of the day, I'm in this for the long term. It's about the project succeeding. It's about making sure we're doing something right. And, we're sticking to what we said. We're doing our cap, and we're sticking to our token price, which we had pegged on the US dollar, which makes things challenging. So we actually lowered the USD price down, and of course, Murphy's Law. What happened?
986.
Yeah, we actually lowered it below that at some point. We adjusted it twice.
Okay.
So we lowered it at some point to something that was more equitable at the moment, but of course, Murphy's Law, Ethereum started going back up again. So again, this is all within 48 hours. So now we've got people going the other way, going, okay, well, you guys lowered it, you got to raise it back up now, otherwise you're doing what you're kind of being contradictory. So myself and Pablo, we were sitting here, and it was very stressful. I mean, that 48 hours was crazy, and we were like, I cannot believe this is happening. So we decided to go with I believe it was a 24-hour average instead of just trying to pick spot prices. We were basically picking the price at a certain time from coinmarket.com. So we decided to go with an average, and we told the community, and of course, there was a certain statistical number of people who thought we were full of it, and most people were okay with it, and that price held. We priced it at that. The ICO was very successful. Everyone was happy. We pretty much stuck to the numbers we had. And of course, now Ethereum's at 500-600. That's a whole other game. But overall, it was a good learning experience. We probably could have handled it initially better, but I think the outcome it was a positive one.
It was a big learning experience for everyone, because the markets are so volatile, right?
Absolutely. You can't predict what's going to happen. So.
Thanks for sharing the behind the scenes. Do you get any sleep?
No. It was the 7 days prior to the ICO. Nobody on our team got any sleep. To answer the question really briefly about community, I'm a 0-1 guy. I love working with computers. They're deterministic, they're predictable. When a computer crashes, it's not because the computer crashed, it's because the software written by human beings crashed. There's no entropy in computers. So for me, I definitely think that the people in my team that are dealing with the community have the work cut out for them. They're dealing with the hardest part of the business. I'm dealing with the algorithms, with the software that's really predictable.
Thank you. Any thoughts on that?
I think the community building part is very difficult, especially the ones getting the ones who will be loved with our product. It's not.
You also enterprise community as well.
Yes and no. Yes and no. The users, the immediate users, could be the B2B customer, but we have the vision, have the B2 B2C. So ultimately, the customers will be use our product, the individuals, but. So far, we haven't done anything about using the speculative motivation behind people getting in our channel, because we don't obsess about the number of people in our channel. Actually, we believe the true supporters in our Sentinel protocol is the one using the crypto payment and the exchanges and the individual wallets. So we want to deploy our system on those three key interfaces and get the legitimate users into our community, rather than just getting some people around the internet just using the speculative motivation behind. So that's what we are trying to do. So that's why we are doing this pre-Sentinels program. The cybersecurity experts, or the one who does not have enough cybersecurity expert, can apply for the evangelist category. Evangelist cannot be done just copy and paste what we want. They should be creative. They should digest it in our own technology, in their own language, and post it or share it to other one. They can be the evangelist.
Thank you. Any questions on the floor? I'm sure there are many questions. Yes, many hands.
Yeah, I just want to ask, because you were saying that in the future you see more protocols at stake. So these are these the blockchain, your data, Ethereum, ICOM, chain. So how do you see ICOM as these are the other competitors?
So maybe what's our value added to the ecosystem? Okay. So ICOM is basically, in a sentence, a smart contract platform with interoperability built in line from the initial design process. So just to throw out some technical numbers, I guess. Right now, as I mentioned, we use a variation of PBFT consensus model called LFT. It's basically a half a point shortened version of PBFT, so 2.5 step LFT consensus model, and throughput is around 1,000 right now. So because we use a variation of PBFT consensus model, it's you only need one transaction to confirm the finality of the transactions. So that's just some numbers, I guess. It doesn't really mean much to just everyday people. But I think, as I mentioned before, each platform will provide their own value proposition to the ecosystem. For example, Ethereum, although it may not be the most efficient in terms of providing low-cost transaction fees and higher throughputs, but it's very much a general-purpose vehicle for multiple decentralized applications to try to build something on top of it. It's very developer-friendly, and it uses a very sleek EVM model to compile and distribute your codes. So that that's the value that Ethereum provides. Maybe Stellar can provide a faster transaction speed with low transaction fee. So I think every platform provides different values, and what Icon provides is that potential for your app to be used in different networks and to use other data's or consensus that has been made in certain different blockchains to be used for your services. For example, JJ, Tink, they're trying to build a social profile. At Icon, we're working with different enterprises in Korea, including securities firms, insurance companies, and healthcare providers like university hospitals and medical centers. In building this social profiles, if their decentralized application can, through our protocol, be connected to these enterprise blockchains, then perhaps this social profiling can also include some data about your medical records or some consensus about your financial activities that has been generated and validated within the financial blockchain consortiums. So I think those kind of possibility, unbounded business opportunities are something that we have in mind, and it's something that we hope to provide to these applications.
And how you guys are leveraging that to bring stuff on top of that, right? So immutability can also be used negatively at times. 2 days ago, some German researchers came out with a report that talked about how there were links to child abuse and trafficking hidden in some of the blockchains, and by virtue of being immutable, it's very difficult to remove those or take them down, right? So how are you, in a centralized world, it's possible to take them down. In a decentralized world, it's not so possible, right? So how are you, as a technology, handling that?
Yeah, thanks for asking that question. I actually read that this morning on Flipboard, so very relevant. So just for clarification, Bluzelle's database is not immutable. Your data, if you store it on our database, it will go away eventually unless you take certain measures for it to stay around. So that's part of our scalability. It's also just a reflection of the fact that in the real world, you can't really keep data around. Now, we didn't design it to be mutable, expecting what you read about it from the German researcher, but it's more just, I've had experience working in enterprise. I've worked with airlines, for example, Lufthansa in Germany. Europe has already come out with the GDPR, which I believe is kicking in May of this year, where you have very strict regulations in the real world about data storage and how long you can keep data around. So it's really not practical to have an infrastructure where data sits around forever. People have the right to remove their data, and of course, as you mentioned, there could be illegal data stored on there, which means technically, if you're a node storing that data, you can be in violation of local regulations. So yeah, to make a long story short, Bluzelle's database is mutable. We use a swarming methodology. If you're storing data to our database and you want it to stick around longer, you have to do certain things like pay a higher service level or do some sort of keep alive where you basically touch your data so that it sticks around. But ultimately, there's a model that we're building in over time where your data will become stale, and at some point, if it's not being used, it'll vanish off the network, thereby freeing up resources to be used for other purposes.
Thank you. Any other questions? Okay, one right.
Question for all the panelists. What would you say to someone who tells you that he wants to launch his own cryptocurrency?
Well, since I'm holding my phone, go ahead.
Yeah, sure.
I mean, for me, you know, anytime anybody's launching any kind of token, currency, whatever, the first question is why. There's a lot of existing, you know, resources behind existing cryptocurrencies. You have Bitcoin, obviously. You got Ethereum. There's, you know, so many tokens that have come about from all the token sales that have happened. And you got to ask yourself, is there utility? That's the number one question. I mean, when I come across a lot of white papers, I've been asked to advise on a lot of things. I've said no to some, yes to some others. And ultimately, for me, the real question is this, you got to ask yourself, is there any way that this token doesn't exist and you can still do what you're doing? And if it doesn't, then you got to ask yourself why you're doing it. I understand that currently, with the way the markets are, it's relatively easy to run a token sale and be sort of successful even without utility. But in the long term, you're not doing yourself a favor or any favors to the people that are buying the token. So definitely, it's about, you know, do you really need a token? Does it provide utility? And if not, consider other options. You should not be using a cryptocurrency or a token sale as a means to fundraising. It's not a fundraising deal.
I've got a question for all of you based on all of that actually, which I wanted to ask at the end. But if your project ceases to exist, will we miss it? Will the world miss your project? Everyone. Since you have the mic, Neeraj.
That's pretty neural.
We'll pass it on later.
I like to think that our database is pretty indispensable. I mean, we have competitors. They're doing different things. I don't think anybody's doing what we have. I don't think they have necessarily the roadmap we have. Our product's not out yet, so I won't say that if Bluzelle disappears tomorrow, there's going to be a sudden void in the space. But I definitely see us taking a position where we're, you know, maybe not disrupting yet, but displacing existing database solutions that are currently being used in the centralized cloud world and entering into a foray, what I like to call the fog computing world, where we're using swarms to store data and therefore, you know, basically taking advantage of all those unused resources that are out there. I mean, people have cell phones that are left on, CPUs spinning. You can use that to, you know, store data, or PCs that are running, all that stuff. So I definitely think that fast forward a year or two from now, my answer to this question will be yes. Bluzelle is going to be a very important part of the infrastructure.
Anyone else? And then we can go to the audience again.
Yeah, so I think generally, as of now, I think the world wouldn't miss us yet because we're just starting out. And also, I think the market isn't really too ready for decentralized exchange because ultimately what people want is as long as an exchange works, then it doesn't matter whether it's centralized or decentralized. But it would be relevant in the coming months, hopefully, you know, for a much longer time when more and more blockchain innovation happens and when blockchain communications, especially the ones between the different blockchains happen. So this is where the decentralized exchanges are really needed to make sure that things are proceeding efficiently.
I think just to quickly share our beliefs. So as I mentioned before, there's pretty much a gap between the public blockchain and the private blockchain for the sake of better words. And whether it will be, you know, closer to which end of the spectrum it might be, I think there will be a time, you know, when this wall will fall, and then these two different ideologies will try to meet in between the halfways. And there are a lot of there are a lot of projects that tries to tackle the issue of interoperability, and they obviously have their own strengths and weaknesses. But I think there are very few companies that looks at this industry from two different perspectives, two different approaches of innovations. So I think in that sense, I think there's lots to miss about ICON if we were to disappear.
Very confident.
Yes, thank you.
Any other audience questions?
Hi. Firstly, congratulations to ICON for the finding of this topic update for a while. So my question is relevant because you're based out of Korea. And I just want to ask basically the difference that you're seeing now in terms of regulations, considering the sure even from country to country. So there are different regulations for different countries. So at ICO level, you have the KYC and AMLs. But after you launch and get listed, liability now falls on exchanges. As a token owner, how do you view the changes in the same terms of regulation on a country basis?
So that's actually a really great question, and to be honest, I don't have the perfect answer for that. Part of the purpose is to try to understand your question and try to reach a conclusion about what kind of things are going on in different cities, different regions around the world. Obviously, from just being in Korea, being exposed to a lot of these regulations and changes in regulations and changes in perception from the government and also the public about the cryptocurrency and blockchain industry as a whole. I think we're living in a very interesting times. Korea, from speaking out of Korea, from Korea's perspective, I think they're pretty much, with all the news about, that kind of portrays Korean government as super anti-crypto. To a certain level, yes, but I think they're more focused on trying to slow down the speculations, not stop the innovation. And already, we're only a couple weeks away from April, and we've already seen a number of government-run initiatives with government grants on aiming towards developing a blockchain technology for certain areas in this industry. And so the Korean government is very much, I think, open to these new technology and innovations. And there will be some areas where you need to regulate to pull down speculations, for the KYC AML purposes. But I think that's something that we need to work with those governments. As much as I want to imagine a utopian world where everything is decentralized and everything is peer-to-peer, I think we need to, at least to a certain extent, try to work with existing standards and compliance measures in order to survive at the end of the day. So I think this is just a natural step of evolution, and we're keeping our eyes very close to regulation and try to comply as much to the best of our extent. And I think it's all of our roles and responsibility to try to work with the regulators so that they understand where we're coming from and what kind of benefit we're trying to provide to them as well.
Hi, I have a question for Icon. Actually, two questions. First of all, you launched your Mainnet around before your Genesis event in Korea, right? So my question is, what's the purpose of launching a Mainnet when most of the average ICX holder cannot use it, and what is the Mainnet being used for now, since most of our tokens are still ERC-20 token? And the second question is on how important you think for Icon the decentralization is, because you're using a DBFT framework which is usually more centralized compared to proof of stake. So do you plan to let individuals be able to run the node as well? Because I would assume for DBFT the requirement to run the node is higher as well. So are you just going to let institution or corporation to run the node only, or you plan to let normal people to be able to run the validator?
Okay, so I'll answer the second question first because it's a little bit more complicated. So I guess I could kind of try to answer both questions at the same time. So right now, as you said, our mainnet was launched, I believe, 24th, 26th of January, and our event was held at 30th of January. And it was essentially an event to get all our supporters in the same place, to just explain our progress, to just have everyone on the same sheet of music in terms of where we're going with this project. So I think it was a very successful event in that standpoint. Right now, we're in the process of swapping our tokens from ERC-20 to migrating them into organic ICX mainnet coins. And I'm not sure how much you understand the process, but you can provide opportunities for token holders to use their tokens if you don't have the mainnet open launched. So it's just a very obvious steps. When you first launch Mainnet, there obviously isn't going to be as many use cases of our Mainnet tokens because we haven't even distributed the token swap process haven't even taken place. So maybe if you're not clear about the process, maybe I talk to you afterwards. But in terms of nodes, I guess currently we have 40 nodes or validators or full nodes on our mainnet, and they're all controlled by us at this moment. Part of the reason is we're actually in the process of testing different governance structures and using AI to determine what's the optimal weight distribution between factors that contributes to how many incentives certain validator receives. So we want to have a control of the entire governance of our mainnet until we have a better understanding of what works better. So we're actually in the process of talking with universities, reputable institutions, to try to delegate the validator's role to them first, and then eventually, as our mainnet matures and becomes more stable, we'll provide opportunities for maybe an individual with a lot of stake in ICX to contribute to the ecosystem by becoming a validator, or certain private blockchain networks. As you know, you need to, if you want to be a full nodes or validator, you need to become a community representative of a certain network. So if you and some other your community members decide to create a blockchain or existing public blockchain, and you want to participate in as a validator, we have a governance system to vote on who should be the validators of the Icon Nexus. So we're actually looking at a lot of different options and ways to decentralize, so to speak, our validator rules. But at this time, we would very much like to have that full control by us, so that we can figure out what's the best governance structure will be.
Thank you. Any other questions?
I've got one question for Icon and the other one gentleman for Kaiba. So the question for Icon is, you mentioned before that you guys are open to exploring different consensus mechanisms down the track. So my question is that once you pick a consensus mechanism, at what point is it point of no return? So for one example is Ethereum. Ethereum these days, you use POW, right? When you have POW, there's a lot of vested interest groups that start to develop around mining capacity and all that, right? So these vested interest groups don't really want to give up the accrued advantages that they have under the current consensus mechanism. So when they try to move towards a POS mechanism, there's likely to be a split in the community. So it's obviously not very good for the project, and the team gets split up. So I guess going back to your point about exploring different consensus mechanisms, so at what point can you still kind of change and have the flexibility to explore, and from what point onwards is it no longer, because you've got all that interest group being developed around that body, that it's really hard to change the ecosystem. And my question to Kaiba is, before you mentioned that you now have blockchains with each having a different coin, a different token, in order to invoke the services on that blockchain. And then your vision is to collate all of that, so on one ecosystem, and use just one network for the access to all these services, and you don't have to think about all these coins. So then the question is, once you do that, you're really kind of generating a pool of like ecosystem where you kind of have all these trading, swapping of, exchanging of tokens behind the scenes, right? So which the user doesn't have to be worrying about, all these thousands of coins. But when you do that, then how do you ensure fair price discovery and fair liquidity of the different coins in that ecosystem? And how do you, I guess, allow the rent-seeking behavior around the market making and the trading around those coins behind the scenes to be done in a way that is as a net positive for the consumer, the users of that carbon network. So thank you very much.
So, as you said before, we're very much open to discovering different technologies that could enhance our business model. the reason why we will never consider POW is right now, as you know, there are about 3 so-called mining pools that dominates the entire proof of work power in the entire network. And the electricity that they use actually becomes cheaper when you buy in bulk. So if you're running a mining pool compared to me plugging having a mining machine at my house, the electricity that they pay is much cheaper than how much I pay. So that kind of provides a way for them to gain more access to the governance of how the network is being run. And it is that vulnerability that, as you said before, that kind of creates a potential for split of opinions whenever they change the consensus model from POW to maybe POS. What we're discovering, what we're open to is, not regarding how. So whatever we do with consensus model will not change how our network is governed. So it will have nothing to do with the governance side of things. It will only have to do with improving the existing consensus model. And I think at this moment, I think whatever that model may look like, I think some variation or improvement on traditional PBFD model is best suited for our purposes. Purpose being working with the enterprises and also trying to develop the ICON Nexus platform. So I'm not sure if Amy kind of explained this before, but how our entire process is structured is that we have a different network architecture for enterprise or 100% open source network or the ICON Nexus. But they all share the same consensus model, which is right now a LFT, a loop chain fault tolerant consensus model. So if we have to decide on changing our consensus model for ICON, it will inevitably affect our consensus model and the way these private blockchains transactions are validated. So I just think that it wouldn't be as dramatic as something from POW to POS where it's gonna be vulnerable to those different types of opinionated, parties or any changes to the existing governance structure. So it will be more on just improving the throughput, I guess.
Tim, please.
So in regards to the price mechanism, right? Kyber network has actually reserves at the back, and these reserves are the ones that provide prices to that are displayed on the Kyber network interface. So the price is guaranteed to determine. So the first type is automated prices, and the second type is manual pricing. So as a reserve, there has got to be a reserve manager, and the reserve manager can set the price. Now, that would be manual. So the manual pricing actually overrides automated pricing. But the reserve manager can make a reference to the price that is suggested by the network. Now, in terms of automated pricing, right, the prices are actually solicited from different exchanges. So because most of the tokens that are going to be listed or even traded on Kyber network are already trading on other exchanges. So there is in other exchanges like Meetup or Kraken, there is a order book system there that determines a pretty fair value of for the tokens. So what we do is we extract prices from different exchanges, we normalize it using our algorithm, and then suggest the price and display it on the interface. Yeah, so that is how we ensure the fairness in the pricing.
Thank you. Any other questions? Oh, someone's sleeping. Okay. Really, no questions? Then I've got a question for all of you, actually. So, in this space, we have many people, for lack of a better word, putting their faces on ICO websites and doing nothing. So how are all of you using your advices? Let's start with Heyman.
Okay. Our advisors, yeah. We asked the same exact question you asked to our team. So are we actively hunting our advisors? No. The advisors in our homepage are the one we really have the select that we tell them to become our advisors. So it's, yeah, actually we don't want any advisors, and we don't want to use any face to get some more traction of our project. Yep.
So yeah, we have advisors, and we were pretty selective about who our advisors would be. We actually, I don't want to say we had access to just anyone, but we had, certain roles already determined. Building out a database, obviously we wanted someone that would help us out with encryption and security, which is a big part of database data management. Then we wanted someone on the software free open source side of things, and somebody on the Ethereum blockchain side, many specific roles. So we pretty much pick people to go into each of these roles, and they're actually a very active part of our team. So we have regular meetings with them, and they're an active contributor to our teams. Now, depending on where we are in the product life cycle, some of them are more involved than others. So, for example, we haven't really got encryption into our database right now. So people that are helping us with encryption are not as involved as people that are helping us with building out our swarm at the base level. So there's definitely going to be different levels of involvement of our advisors depending on where we are in our project roadmap. But all our advisors are very critical, and I don't think we would be where we are even now without them.
And Tian, specific question for you regarding that. You won a few projects that Vitalik publicly endorsed, essentially. So did it help? Not help. It definitely helped. But how much of it was? Yeah, it definitely helped. It definitely helped. Yeah. But was it additional pressure, scrutiny? How do you deal with that?
Yeah, I think it comes with scrutiny for sure, because it gives us a lot of exposure, and because Vitalik is almost the face of Ethereum. If he endorses a project, people will pay attention to it. So it comes. The pressure comes to it. But from our end, we have so with him as an advisor, we have direct access to him. So that means we also have a pretty good relationship with the Ethereum Foundation. It gives us a lot of leverage to understand the technology and the ongoing processes and the development within the foundation, which can help us structure our roadmap, especially in the beginning. But of course, there are also other advisors that are very crucial and essential to our entire development. So, for example, we believe a lot that as a project, we need to be compliant. So we have from Benton's and also Shankit, who used to be an VP of compliance at the bank, to help us on that aspects. And then because we are operating an exchange, we have hold on with trading background to advise us on how to structure our reserves. So I think all of them play very crucial roles. They play different roles. Yeah. So we're very selective with that.
And Icon is going to be advisor too, right? No? You have
Icon
working
is
together.
Yeah. I guess we're
Discussing
friends.
friends?
Yeah.
Okay, cool. Thank you. Any other questions from the floor? No, yeah, then, okay, we do have one question. Okay.
I have a question for Amy. So I recall in your last presentation here, you mentioned that a specific seed investor remarked that he could foresee come a certain point, all the exchanges and the payments providers, they would all want to take part in the Sentinel protocol network. If they don't, then they the next target for malicious hackers. So from that point, is there any form of governance in place from the team right now to sort of protect in such that Sentinel protocol doesn't become a new centralized mode of protection against malicious hackers?
Yes, we do have that governance model. That's why we are trying to work with ICON. The consensus algorithm is somewhat similar to DPoS. So we need that DPoS algorithm system. That means if someone reports some scam address that we don't know that's a legit hacking or not, so it should be verified by the proven cybersecurity expert, which is the validator of our own blockchain. So initially, we are bootstrapping this threat intelligence database by ourselves and some of our trusted sentinels, pre-sentinels together. But ultimately, in a short mid time frame, we want to keep it up and running not by us, by the people who has the governance in the blockchain, top sentinels. Initially, we are picturing the top sentinels. We have 10 top sentinels, but we have a strong intention to increase it like 100 sentinels. So that's the government's policy in our own blockchain.
Thank you. So I've got one last question for the whole panel, and then we have again another project presentation to close out our evening. So for question for all of you, just a future-looking thing. How do you see blockchain changing the world in the next 1 year and, I don't know, 10 years? We can start here with Heyman. The mic is beside you.
Okay, since our team and my background is cybersecurity, so in that perspective, I think every government can make their own kind of token. Let's say the Singapore dollar token, SGDC. Not just necessarily be the money paying token, they could be some cyber asset based on the real asset value. So we can tag out the value of the property, the furniture, everything. I see this blockchain technology is quite disruptive. It could be in a way the fully digitalized world. In that sense, we can trace down the asset movement. We can track the underground money. How does it flow? We can do everything. We have the full visibility, but it should be done with the proper access level kind of thing. Let's say someone can see the certain part of information on it, and let's say the superior government can see all the access flow of everything, but normal people can only see whether this money came from bad actor or EDA reimbursement or not. So I see this could be the thing in a longer term. If this technology keep going forward and dominate with the proper necessary function, keeping supporting this technology, then it could be a sure thing.
Anyone else?
So I'm going to answer this more in terms of trustless computing, decentralization, and blockchain, because just as relevant to what we're doing at Bluzelle, as I mentioned, that gentleman over there, it's not a blockchain, but we are using what I consider to be the central tenets of blockchain, which are decentralization, trustless computing. I think that, a year out, I don't really see massive disruption happening in the world. It's going to take longer than that. But I do see that there's going to be, for example, looking at token sales. There's a lot of companies out there. It feels to me a bit like, 2000 when everyone had .com at the end of their company, and obviously, most of those e-commerce companies are gone, and now we've got the big players left. So I think that what's going to happen is there's going to be a shake-up process. And
I mean, you're talking about token sales as well. I think this month or something, just the total amount of money raised is really less than like the last few months, right?
Yeah, I mean, it's 1 month. It's not a really large sample size, but yeah.
It's so volatile, essentially.
Yeah, it's volatile. But at the end of the day, there's a lot of players out there right now, and the year after a year, that's a long time in this space, in my opinion. There's going to be a lot of conclusions that will happen. There's going to be some companies that are going to remain, some that are not. But we'll have a better picture of kind of what's real and what's not, who are actually delivering products and who are not. So I do think that there's going to be a maturing process, and we're going to have a better picture of what's going to be there in the long term. For me, really, it's more about just a year out, it's about the longer term again, about having the proper pieces in place to have this decentralized infrastructure, so that you can have decentralized exchanges, you can have blockchains, you can have database, all the pieces necessary so that you can empower people to use technology in a way that gives them the freedom and the choice, and takes away the control from the status quo right now, which is governments and agencies that may not necessarily have your best interests in mind.
And Tian and Henry, I guess, what's the most major thing you think might happen in, say, 2018?
Blockchain space.
Yes.
I think this year it's going to be, so I have a couple of things that I'm thinking of. Regulations, firstly. I think there will be a lot more clarity in terms of regulations of different jurisdictions. As of now, many countries are still deliberating between whether they want to be supportive or they want to shut down the technology. Some countries have already chosen to, in a way, put it under the cover for now until there's a better way to manage it, and then some other countries are embracing it. So in terms of regulation right now, I think we're still in a very early stage. as a company, so one of the aspects that we think can be improved is like probably like the tax structure, or how you determine proceeds from cryptocurrencies. These are just some examples of aspects that are still waiting to be clarified. And then the other thing is, volatility has always been one of the biggest challenges or even opportunities for cryptocurrencies. So I feel this year we are going to see more relevant use cases for stablecoins. So stablecoins like Digix and MakerDAI, they are already making use cases, and they're going to be released soon. And I think with some stability, maybe the adoption of blockchain technology might improve. And the third thing is, I think protocol layers will have maybe some kind of consolidation. Mostly because there are just way too many different types of currencies around. Some of them will become irrelevant. Many of them will become irrelevant, and then maybe sometimes the bigger ones might acquire the technology of the smaller ones. Yeah. So, and of course, just between the protocols, right? We should expect some cross-chain transactions and communications.
Henry, what major thing are you looking forward to this year?
I actually like the previous question better. So
You can answer all in one.
Okay, so obviously I think we're going to see a lot more connection between these blockchains. But I think what I'm personally more interested in is, less from ICON, but more from me. Different generation of people act differently in doing the same thing. For example, just communications. So initially people used to write letters, and then maybe email came out, and then Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, and then now Snapchat. And so the length of communication became shortened as we, as the generation, adapted to these different types of technologies. So what I'm most interested in is what the younger generation will come up with. So I think the younger generation, those who are in their high school, middle school, who are just learning about what blockchain is, what cryptocurrency is, they will be much more creative than we can be. And right now, I think a lot of the projects, their level of creativity is bounded by the experience that we had and the exposure that we had to traditional services and application that we used. So as a 15-year-old who loves computer, who's starting to understand what blockchain technology is, what they're going to create in the next 10 years is going to be much more creative than we could ever imagine, anyone in this room. So I think, we're just here to lay out the basic infrastructure of that to be, deployed. And, obviously, I'm not sure if we will be the last one standing in terms of innovative and creativity, that added value to this industry. But, we're just here to lay out the basic infrastructure for these creative innovations to build on top of ICON. So I'm very much interested to see how these younger kids can think differently than us.
Thank you very much. Thank you, Henry of ICON. Thank you, Tian of Kyber, Neeraj of Bluzelle, and Heyman of Sentinel Protocol. Thank you, gentlemen. Round of applause for them, please.